What's up, everybody? Derek Anderson, the DA. So yeah, not to be outdone at all by The Flash in this miserable box office weekend. Now we get Elemental. Elemental, in the words of the Hollywood Reporter, getting iced at the box office. And listen, this is an absolute disaster. This is worse than The Flash. This is way worse than The Flash in terms of how bad this thing is performing in the box office against the budget that they had. I want you guys to keep something in mind. Both of these films had pretty much the same budget, $200 million. I think Flash probably went way over that from reshoots, but they state it's $200 million. So we'll go with that. Elemental also had a $200 million budget. Why? God only knows. Because there's no way that you can convince me that you got to spend $200 million on an animated film like I've been saying in the past. Disney's got to be laundering this money some way, somehow, okay? These cats are crooks and they're getting away with it. But nevertheless, let's just talk about what we see on the surface. The box office for both of these big brands. I want you to remember, The Flash, DC Comics, okay? That's a huge, huge brand. And I've already covered that. I'll link that video above if you didn't see the previous coverage of the box office for The Flash. But that's a big brand. And now you get to Pixar. This is Pixar, you guys. This is Toy Story. This is The Incredibles, Finding Nemo, Wall-E, Up. The list goes on and on. Big, huge, named brands. That's what Pixar is known for. Churning out great movies over time. Always a classic. Always a hit in the box office. Always does great on Rotten Tomatoes with all the kids and the families and everything like that. And nobody went and checked this thing out at all. At all. It's going to be, in my opinion, hands down, the biggest flop in Pixar history. And I'm going to show you why I say that. But let's go ahead and check out and see what the Hollywood Reporter has to say about it. So in the middle of the article, it says DC was counting on The Flash to improve its standing after Shazam and Black Adam. Ditto for Pixar, which has Elemental opening this weekend. Based on Friday's earnings of $11.8 million, the family pick is expected to gross $28 to $32 million for the 3 days, which is either the lowest or second lowest debut ever for a Pixar title since Toy Story started out with $29 million 3 decades ago, not adjusted for inflation. Yeah, so if you say this thing comes in under $29 million, it is by far the lowest. But I'm saying this is the worst one anyway, because even with that, $28 million by today's standards, or even $30 million or $35 million by today's standards with today's average box office ticket price, I mean, you're talking about prices in the ranges of $15 in some cases. Back when Toy Story came out, back in 1995, that's when that film came out. Ticket prices was way different. Let's take a look at that real quick. Now, this website here, this is called The Numbers. It's a lot of analytical information. If you're ever interested, you can check it out, thenumbers.com. But here we go. Domestic movie theatrical market summary from 95 to 2023. All right. And then you get to the tickets sold and the average ticket price. So you can see here, 2023, we got an average ticket price, $10.45. So that would be Elemental, Flash, and all the movies that are coming out this year. This is the average ticket price. What was the average ticket price back in 1995 when Toy Story came out? Yeah, $4.35. And it was dope back then, let me tell you. I would go to movies for like $5, and then I would get like a $5 bucket of popcorn and like a $2 drink or $3 drink or something like that, depending on if I wanted an icy or not. I mean, man, the glory days, man. It was amazing going back to the movies back in the day. But nevertheless, $4.35. That's more than half of ticket prices today. So when you're talking about a film doing exactly the same or roughly the same amount of money as Toy Story did back in 1995, we're talking apples and oranges, all right? We're really talking apples and oranges. They're not even in the same ballpark if you adjust for inflation. Yeah, so this number right here is 28 to 32 million that they're talking about. Regardless of which one it gets, this is the absolute worst flop in Pixar's history. No question about it. Then you go to Box Office Mojo. You can see Box Office Mojo, brand Pixar. All right. These are the biggest opening weekends that it had. You can see Incredibles had an opening weekend, $182 million. All right. That's what you would want to spend a $200 million budget on. Okay. Something that's going to do that. Or even Finding Dory or these films right here. Inside Out could even be a close one. You don't want to spend $200 million on these whack films that ain't making money. But yeah, you can see here it is, getting away from these films that had these re-releases or these one theater openings. You have Toy Story, $29 million. That's it. okay? And this was back in 1995, and this was only released in 2,457 theaters. How many theaters did Elemental get released in? Yeah, so here's Elemental, right? And this is what it made on Friday so far. And look, it released in 4,035 theaters. Okay, so you measure that against Toy Story, which didn't even release in 2,500 theaters, back in 1995, with the ticket prices being about $4, $4.35. You compare that to this, with the ticket prices well over $10 per ticket on average. Probably some people went and saw this in IMAX or a Dolby screen. They probably paid $17, $18 for their ticket. And it was released in 4,000 theaters. This is an absolute joke. This is a nightmare for Disney. This is an absolute nightmare for Pixar. This brand is completely falling off. It is 100% damaged. I don't know if it's beyond repair, but it looks like it right now. I mean, good God almighty. It's released in this many theaters, and it's probably not going to get what Toy Story got in terms of a total box office back 28 years ago. Are you kidding me? This is a disaster for Disney, and Disney has to start to take a step back and do some complete soul searching to figure out what the hell it is that they're doing wrong. We already know what they're doing wrong. We've been calling it out. We've been talking about it, but Disney hasn't been paying attention to anything that the fans have been saying, or all of these websites, YouTubers, you name it. They're not listening to them. They think we're all just a bunch of haters. And the reality is we're movie fans. We're fans of films, and we want this stuff to be great. But when you guys keep doing this stuff, it's like, you know what? Let's just start calling it out and see if these yo-yos will start paying attention to it. The hope now is that Eternals will parlay its A-Cinema score into long legs at the box office. Fat chance. I mean, how long are you going to leave it in theaters, Disney? You're going to leave this thing all the way through the end of summer? You're going to stretch this thing into the fall, September, October, until you hopefully finally get close to making your money back? You're not going to make your money back. They're going to probably leave this thing, in my opinion, based on this opening weekend, and yeah, it'll have some, some word of mouth, I guess, the A-Cinema score. People will say good, positive things to their friends. Maybe more people show up next weekend or the weekend after that. But it's a long summer, and there's other kids' films that are going to be coming out. People, you know what? They wasn't checking for this from the very, very beginning. That's why it's getting the box office 29 to 32 million or whatever, 28 to 32 million that it's getting. Because nobody was checking for this movie, and Pixar has completely fallen off. It's not even getting rave reviews from Rotten Tomatoes, from the critics. Yeah, 75%, that's solid. That's a nice little tomato. But, Pixar is better than this. The audience score is good. Let's see what this looks like. Audience score, you got the top critics giving it a 64. This isn't what top critics do with Pixar. Nobody's checking for them. Audience, 85%. I mean, yeah, that's solid. These are solid numbers. Don't get it twisted. It's probably a decent movie, but do I need to flock out to watch it, or can I wait for this thing to show up on Disney Plus sometime in September or October? Because that's what's going to happen. That's what's going to happen. Nobody's going to the theaters to check for this. They're just going to wait until it comes out on Disney Plus. It's not like, what's the urgency for me to go and pay, $10 a ticket? Let's say you can find some place that's doing the $10 ticket deal. What's the urgency for me to go and pay $10 per ticket for me, my 2 kids, the wife, the girlfriend, whatever? Like, you're talking about $40 just in tickets, and then you still got to get snacks and drinks, gas to get there. You're probably looking at $100 overall for an outing. For what? This? I'll wait for Disney Plus. This will be on Disney Plus in no time at all. Directed by Peter Sohn, The Good Dinosaur. Yeah, and that was the other thing, is that this film right here, this Good Dinosaur, the last film he directed, this thing didn't make any money. So they just gave this dude another $200 million to just burn up in the smoke. I mean, it's their money, I guess, but yeah, I think there's some money laundering going on. Elemental is set in Element City, where fire, water, land, and air residents live together. The film's themes include connection, celebrating differences, and finding one's place in the world. And listen, there's nothing wrong with this stuff for a kid's film, in my opinion. You can have these nice little themes, but you got to show people fun. And they're not showing people the fun. They're just hitting them over the head with themes, with messages. I say that all the time. You can put messages in your films, but you got to layer it in the subtext. All right. But when the themes are coming out in the trailer, it was so obvious that this was supposed to be some kind of a message film in the trailers. When you do that in the trailers, you've lost half your audience. I guarantee you've lost half your audience, because adults are looking at this and they're like, man, the kids ain't going to be laughing at this. They're going to be bored. They're going to be sitting in the theaters. They're going to be saying, Mom, I want to leave. They're going to be doing all of that kind of crap. When you show them this kind of a film, you got to have excitement, laughter. Oh, I want to see a minion smacking another minion and then giggling at it. That's okay. My kids are going to be into that. My kids will be 1000% into that. Let's go on into the theaters. We'll throw down the plunk down the $100 or whatever it's going to cost me for this day. But I will take my kids to see the movies because they're going to be doing this type of crap. You know, that's how it works. And I don't think Disney or Pixar or any of these other Hollywood types understand that. They've lost what audiences are looking for. Kids especially. All they want to do is just laugh. That's why the Super Mario Brothers, even though critics didn't like it, the Super Mario Brothers movie hit it off with children, with kids, their target audience. They understood what their target audience was, and they just keep giving them this goofy crap. They gonna love it. They gonna eat it up. And it made $1 billion in the box office, 1.3 and climbing. It's still making money in the box office. Now, check this out. This is what Deadline had to say. I thought this was very interesting, okay? It gives you the same kind of totals about what they thought Elemental would do. It's not going to do very well. It's talking about the 4-day at $33 million. Like, even the 4-day number is just tragically bad, right? But it says here, the entire concept has been hard to win kids and families. But even more so, the film feels like a diluted version of the spirited existential stuff we've seen from the Emeryville, California studio with Inside Out and Soul. Very same old, same old. That's the whole thing. Everybody knew this. Same old, same old. It was the same stuff that we've always gotten from Pixar. How does Elemental look different than all of these other movies that Pixar have done in the past? It doesn't. And if it doesn't look different, well, I'll just go see Inside Out. I can go right to Disney Plus and see Soul. I don't have to go out and spend that $10 a ticket or whatever the case may be. And with all my kids and taking them with the popcorn and the snacks and the nachos and all of that crap totaling up to $100. I don't have to do that. I'll just plop them down, microwave some popcorn. Yeah, let's watch Inside Out again. I love Inside Out. Don't you guys love Inside Out? Or they could go and rent Mario. You know, Mario's available for rent. And they can make that the weekend, activity for the kids. Again, that's what I'm saying. They don't understand what's going on anymore. Disney has lost the plot. Pixar has lost the plot. They have completely failed to understand their audience. They don't get their audience anymore. And I don't know how you do that in Hollywood. How do you forget your audience and what your audience is looking for? And now you have zero way to connect to your audience to the point that you're making the worst Pixar film in Pixar's long history. They've made over 20-something odd films. And out of all of those films, this is going to be the worst box office performance when people are flocking in and giving Mario $1 billion. This is embarrassing. Everybody at Pixar should be sweating in their shoes right now because their jobs are all on the line. I guarantee you, they can't keep doing this. Disney has to purchase Hulu at the end of the year, and they need these $200 million films to make bread, and they're not making bread. And at the end of the day, I don't know what they're going to do with this. I've heard people saying that, well, maybe they should combine these two studios, Pixar and Disney Animation. But yeah, Disney Animation isn't making good stuff either, They're making crap like, Strange World that's not doing anything in the box office. I think they need to, again, just like I said with Lucasfilm, you got to gut these places. You got to gut them and just start over. Rebuild from the ashes. That's the only way this is going to work. Anyway, folks, what do y'all think about this situation? Pixar laying an absolute egg, a dud, along with The Flash this weekend. Bad news for both of these big brands. But you guys go ahead, jump down in the comments. Give me your thoughts and opinions on that. And thanks for watching. See you next time.